All right, so we're going deep today.
Deep.
Yeah, into the deep end of internet weirdness with this Arby's-themed YouTube video that you send us. I'm guessing you're already pretty familiar with the whole YTP scene since you requested this this deep dive. But what was it about this one in particular that caught your eye? What made you want to go deeper?
I think what's really fascinating about this video, it's called YTP ARBY'S COMMERCIALS.
Yeah.
It's on a channel called TD Woogie. What's so fascinating about it is that it perfectly exemplifies what remix culture is all about within the YTP genre. You see, instead of like just watching a typical video, like we're experiencing a manipulated, creatively manipulated, I guess, version of existing media. And the creator here, he took something familiar, Arby's commercials, you know, those kind of quirky, over-the-top ads.
Yeah.
And he transformed them into something completely new and, well, absurd.
Absurd is putting it mildly. I mean, we've got Arby's doesn't allow penis from 2 to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Steak knives are just mouth knives. And this, like, obsession with cocks, that's, frankly, a bit bewildering.
Right.
It's like watching a fever dream unfold, but with curly fries and horsey sauce, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, YTP thrives on subverting expectations,
Right.
Juxtaposition,
Yeah.
placing, you know, contrasting elements side by side. That's really key to the humor. You know, it's about taking something as ordinary as an Arby's commercial,
Right.
and just twisting it into something simultaneously hilarious and disorienting.
Yeah.
By using unexpected and sometimes even slightly offensive humor. They're kind of pushing boundaries and forcing us to see Arby's in a whole new light.
They definitely achieved that, I'll tell you. And speaking of unexpected, there's this recurring phrase, Arby's. We have the,
Right.
but then it's followed by like all sorts of crazy things.
Right.
Mouth knives, Nirvana, even a real cunt-style rib sandwich.
Yeah.
It's like a parody of Arby's own slogans, right?
It is.
I mean, they're known for emphasizing variety. And this creator is like taking that to an absurd extreme.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that repetition, that's a classic YTP technique.
Right.
By constantly repeating that phrase and then filling in the blank with, you know, increasingly absurd or outlandish things, you know, the video creates this escalating sense of chaos and humor. It's like they're saying Arby's has everything, even the things you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And doing it in a way that mimics the brand's own advertising style.
Right.
It's very clever.
And some of the things they claim to have are just like, Arby's Smokehouse hasn't been smoked for 13 hours over hickory, or Arby's, why was I born?
Right.
It's funny, but also kind of like thought-provoking in a way.
Yeah.
You know, using Arby's to ask, why was I born? Is that a commentary on consumerism or something?
Could be.
Is the joke on us for finding like meaning in fast food?
It very well could be. That's a great observation. You know, YTP, it often plays with language and meaning in this way.
Right.
You know, these nonsensical phrases, especially when they're layered on top of, you know, recognizable commercial rhetoric, it heightens the absurdity and makes us, you know, reevaluate what we're seeing, what we're hearing.
Yeah.
It's like the video is constantly challenging our understanding of, you know, what's real, what's fake, what's just plain ridiculous, all while riffing on the language of advertising.
Yeah.
It's very meta.
It's a wild ride, that's for sure.
It is.
Speaking of wild, there's this part where they talk about flay knife meat.
Okay.
Topped with penis, tomato, and cum.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. Where do they even come up with this stuff?
Yeah.
I get that YTP is about pushing boundaries, but is it really just like about shock value?
Well, I
feel like there's something smarter going on with how they use that kind of language.
Yeah, I think you're right. While shock value definitely plays a role, you're right, there's more to it than that.
Okay.
Remember, YTP is a form of creative expression.
Right.
By distorting familiar language and imagery, specifically, you know, the carefully crafted messages of Arby's commercials.
Yeah.
They're challenging our assumptions about advertising, consumerism, and even language itself. It's deconstruction through humor. You know, using the most outlandish elements to make us look closer at what's being said and how it's being said.
It's disturbing, but I can't stop watching.
Right.
And that kpcapia.arby's we have the SEK part.
Yeah.
That's a great example of what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
It's like they're like deconstructing the whole idea of an Arby's commercial word by word, like exposing the mechanisms behind the marketing. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Exactly. This goes beyond simply making a funny video.
Okay.
It's about using humor to dissect and critique the messages that we're constantly bombarded with.
Right.
You know, it's a way of taking back power from those messages, of reclaiming them and turning them into something that that serves us, even if it's, you know, just through laughter.
Right. Okay. All right. So we've been talking about the techniques and the deeper meaning, but let's not forget the elephant in the room, or rather the cocks on the screen.
Right. Right.
It's pretty clear that this video has a particular fascination with male anatomy.
It does. It does.
I'm curious, like, why do you think that is? What role does that kind of imagery play in the overall message?
That's an interesting question, and one that likely has multiple layers.
Okay.
On one level, it's undoubtedly about pushing boundaries and provoking reactions. You know, using such imagery, especially juxtaposed against something as wholesome as Arby's,
Yeah.
you know, it's sure to grab attention and elicit, you know, strong emotions.
Right.
It's a way of disrupting the viewer's expectations and making them question what they're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's another layer here, you know, something about subverting the traditionally masculine imagery often associated with meat and fast food advertising.
Okay.
By injecting those elements with absurd and often homoerotic undertones, they're challenging those assumptions and reclaiming the narrative in a way that's both shocking and hilarious.
That's a really interesting point. It's like they're taking something that's usually presented as like hyper masculine and just turning it on its head, using humor to deconstruct those traditional gender roles.
Yeah.
It's definitely making me think about Arby's and fast food advertising in general in a completely different way.
And that's the power of YTP. You know?
Yeah.
It can make us question our assumptions, challenge our perspectives,
Right.
and see the world in a new light.
Right.
All while making us laugh.
Right.
It's a reminder that even the most mundane things can be a source of creativity, humor, and social commentary if we're willing to look at them from a different angle.
Well said. This deep dive is already proving to be far more insightful than I initially expected.
Oh, good.
We've uncovered layers of meaning and social commentary lurking beneath the surface of this seemingly absurd Arby's YTP video, but we've only just scratched the surface.
Right.
There's still so much more to explore, so stay tuned as we continue our journey into the wonderfully weird world of YouTube poop.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back and ready to delve a little deeper into this Arby's YTP rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing how much we've already kind of unpacked from just the first few minutes of this video. Who knew that a bizarre remix of Arby's commercials could spark such insightful conversations about advertising and humor and even gender roles?
Yeah, it's really it's a testament to the creative power of YTP.
Okay.
And the way that it can take something so familiar
Yeah.
and twist it into something completely new and unexpected.
Right.
It challenges us to think differently about the media we consume,
Right.
to question its messages,
Right.
to find humor in the most unconventional places.
Speaking of unconventional humor, there's this one part where they keep saying Arby's, the commercial is over.
Yeah.
But then it just keeps going.
Right.
With even more bizarre Arby's-related content.
Yeah.
It's like they're playing with our expectations, you know?
It is.
They make us think it's ending, and then, bam!
Yeah.
They pull us right back in.
Ah, yes, the classic fake out.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant way to keep the viewer engaged and on their toes.
Okay.
By subverting the traditional structure of a commercial break, they're kind of highlighting the artificiality of those boundaries. It's like they're saying, we're in control here, not the advertisers.
And they're definitely not afraid to use that control to push boundaries.
No, they're not.
I mean, we've already talked about the cocks and the cum and all that, but it's the way they like weave it into the narrative, or the lack thereof, I guess,
Right.
that I find so fascinating. It's like they're creating their own language,
Right.
language of absurdity and shock value that somehow makes sense within the context of this video.
Yeah.
It's almost like a fever dream where the logic of the waking world no longer applies. You know?
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
YTP often operates on this kind of dreamlike
Yeah.
logic
Yeah.
where The rules of space, time, and even language are fluid and malleable.
Yeah.
They're taking, familiar elements,
Yeah.
like Arby's commercials, and blending them with these, absurd and often shocking elements to create something that's both disorienting and hilarious.
It's definitely a unique form of humor.
It is.
You know what else I find interesting?
What's that?
It's the editing. They're splicing together all these different clips, adding sound effects, distorting voices, and creating these bizarre, almost dreamlike sequences.
Right.
It's incredibly intricate and well crafted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a hidden artistry to YTP that's often overlooked. It requires a very high level of technical skill and creative vision.
Yeah.
The editor's like a composer,
Okay.
taking these disparate elements and arranging them in a way that creates a cohesive, albeit strange and often nonsensical whole.
This reminds me of when I was a kid, we used to make up silly jingles for commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Like we'd take the original melody and lyrics and just twist them into something completely ridiculous.
Yep.
It's like that same impulse just taken to a whole other level with the technology and creativity of YTP.
That's a great comparison.
Yeah.
It speaks to the innate human desire to play with language, to subvert expectations, and to find humor in the unexpected. And YTP provides this platform for those impulses to flourish, to evolve, and to reach a wider audience.
So it's not just about being weird for the sake of being weird.
No.
There's actually a method to the madness.
Precisely. While YTP may appear, random and chaotic on the surface, there's often a deeper layer of meaning and intentionality at play.
Yeah.
It's about using humor to critique, to deconstruct, and reimagine the media that we consume.
Yeah.
It's about taking back control of the narrative and creating something new and unique in the process.
We've talked about the techniques, the humor, the social commentary, but I'm still curious about the creators themselves. Who are these people who spend hours upon hours meticulously crafting these bizarre and often hilarious videos? What drives them? Is it fame, fortune, a burning desire to share their unique brand of humor with the world?
It's likely a combination of factors.
Okay.
For many YTP creators, it's simply a form of creative expression, a way to channel their humor and artistic vision into something tangible, and share it with others. There's a sense of community within the YTP world.
Okay.
A shared appreciation for the absurd and the unconventional, and of course, there's the satisfaction of seeing your creation, go viral, of knowing that you've made people laugh or think differently about something.
So it's not about money or fame.
Right.
It's more about the art itself and the community that surrounds it.
Exactly. YTP is largely a labor of love, a passion project.
Okay.
Fueled by creativity, humor, and a desire to connect with others who share those passions. It's a reminder that art can take many forms. And that the internet provides a platform for those forms to flourish.
Yeah.
Even if they're as weird and unconventional as YTP.
It's amazing to think that something as seemingly simple as an Arby's commercial can inspire such a vibrant and creative community.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder what Arby's itself thinks about all this, I mean, they're the unwitting stars of this video. They're carefully crafted marketing messages being twisted and turned into something completely different.
Right.
Do they embrace the absurdity?
Yeah.
Are they horrified? Do they even know this exists?
That's a great question, and one that I don't have a definitive answer to.
Okay.
But it raises some interesting points about intellectual property, copyright, and the nature of remix culture in the digital age. On the one hand, YTP could be seen as a form of copyright infringement, as it's using copyrighted material without permission. But on the other hand, you could argue that it falls under fair use. As it's transformative, using the original material to create something new and different with its own unique purpose and and meaning.
It's a legal gray area for sure.
It is.
But beyond the legalities, I'm more interested in the cultural impact.
Right.
Does this kind of video ultimately hurt or help Arby's brand?
Yeah.
Does it make people more or less likely to eat there?
That's a tough question to answer.
Yeah.
It likely depends on the individual viewer
Right.
and their own personal taste and sense of humor.
Okay.
You know, some people might find it offensive and off-putting,
Right.
while others might find it hilarious and endearing.
Yeah.
You know, it's possible that it could even generate positive buzz for Arby's
Okay.
as it's, you know, getting their name out there.
Yeah.
And sparking conversations,
Yeah.
even if those conversations are about, you know, cocks and cum.
It's definitely a risky strategy.
It is.
But hey, maybe that's part of the appeal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In a world of like carefully curated brand images and meticulously crafted marketing messages, there's something refreshing about seeing a brand kind of embrace the chaos.
Yeah.
And let its image be remixed and reinterpreted in unexpected ways.
It's a reminder that sometimes the best way to connect with an audience is to let go of control.
Okay.
To embrace the unexpected.
Yeah.
And to allow for a little bit of creative anarchy.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground in this exploration of Arby's YTP.
We have.
We've discussed its humor, its social commentary, its
Right.
technical artistry, and its impact on both the viewer and the brand itself.
Right.
But there's one more question that's been lingering in my mind.
And what would that be?
What does this all say about internet culture as a whole?
Okay.
You know, this video is just one small example of the vast and often bizarre world of online content creation.
Right.
What does it tell us about the way we consume and interact with media in the digital age?
That's a profound question and one that deserves careful consideration.
Yeah.
I think this video in YTT in general, it highlights the democratization of media creation
Okay.
and consumption in the internet age.
Right.
You know, anyone with a computer
Yeah.
and an internet connection can now create and share their own content,
Right.
regardless of their technical skills or artistic background.
Right.
This has led to an explosion of creativity
Yeah.
and diversity, a flourishing of niche communities and subcultures,
Right.
and a blurring of the lines between producer and consumer.
So it's not just about making funny videos.
Right.
It's about empowering individuals to take control of the media they consume.
Yeah.
To remix it,
Remix it,
reinterpret it,
reinterpret it.
and share their own unique perspectives with the world.
Exactly. And it's about challenging the traditional gatekeepers of media. The corporations and institutions that have historically controlled the flow of information and entertainment.
Right.
You know, YTP in its own weird and wonderful way is a form of rebellion, a rejection of the passive consumption of mass media,
Right.
and an embrace of active participation and creative expression.
It's a reminder that the internet has the power to connect people, to foster creativity, and to challenge the status quo.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the most effective way to do that is through humor,
Right.
absurdity,
Absurdity.
and a healthy dose of cocks and cum.
Indeed, YTP may not be everyone's cup of tea,
Yeah.
but it's a fascinating and often insightful example of the creative potential of the internet.
Okay.
And the ways in which it's changing the way we think about media culture
Right.
and humor.
Well said. We've delved deep into this Arby's YTP video, exploring its layers of meaning, its technical artistry, and its cultural significance. We've laughed, we've cringed,
Yes.
we've questioned our sanity,
Yes, we have.
and we've come out the other side with a newfound appreciation for the power of remix culture
Absolutely.
and the boundless creativity of the internet.
It's amazing.
But alas, all good things must come to an end.
Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
It's been quite the journey, hasn't it?
It really had.
We've dissected the humor, the editing techniques,
Right.
the cultural significance of this Arby's YTP.
Mhm.
But as you mentioned, the biggest question remains.
Yeah.
What does it all mean?
Yeah, it's like we've explored this bizarre and hilarious landscape,
Right.
but now we need to find our way back home and figure out what souvenirs we're taking with us, you know?
Right.
We've talked about YTP as a form of rebellion, a way of reclaiming media and challenging the status quo. But does it actually have any, like, lasting impact? Does it change the way we view the world?
That's a complex question,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's a single definitive answer.
Okay.
But I do believe that YTP and remix culture in general
Mm-hmm.
can have a profound influence on the way we think and perceive the world around us.
Okay.
It encourages us to be more critical of the media we consume,
Right.
to question its messages,
Right.
its motives,
Okay.
and to see the humor and absurdity in everyday life.
Okay. So it makes us more critical thinkers.
Yeah.
But is that all?
Right.
Is it just about deconstructing advertising and poking fun at corporate America?
Right.
Or is there something deeper going on here?
I think there's a deeper level of engagement happening as well.
Okay.
YTP, with its chaotic and often nonsensical nature, it forces us to confront the limits of language and meaning.
Mm-hmm.
It deconstructs the way we communicate, the symbols we use, the assumptions we make,
Right.
and in doing so, it opens up these new possibilities for interpretation and understanding.
So it's not just about laughing at the absurdity.
Right.
It's about challenging the very foundations of how we make sense of the world.
Precisely. YTP, in its own strange and wonderful way,
Yeah.
is a form of philosophical inquiry.
Wow.
It's asking questions about the nature of reality,
Okay.
the meaning of existence, the limits of human perception,
Mm-hmm.
and it's doing it through this lens of humor, absurdity,
Right.
and a healthy dose of cocks and cum, which somehow makes it all the more compelling.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned earlier that this video uses Arby's to ask, why was I born?
Right.
And at the time, I just kind of laughed it off as just another absurd joke.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm starting to see it in a new light.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not just a joke. Maybe it's a genuine question about the meaning of life, framed within the context of this bizarre and hilarious video.
I think that's a beautiful insight.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the power of YTP to transcend its comedic roots.
Right.
And touch on something deeper.
Okay.
Something more profound.
Yeah.
You know, it's a reminder that even in the most absurd and unexpected places,
Yeah.
we can find these moments of genuine reflection
Okay.
and contemplation.
It's like that scene in the video where they keep repeating Arby's, we have the Nirvana.
Yes.
At first glance, it's just a silly joke, a juxtaposition of fast food and spiritual enlightenment.
Right.
But the more I think about it, the more I realize that maybe there's a deeper meaning there.
Sure.
Maybe they're suggesting that even in the most mundane aspects of life, we can find these moments of transcendence, of connection, of something greater than ourselves.
That's a beautiful interpretation.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to the power of remix culture to recontextualize and reinterpret existing media.
Right.
To find new meanings and perspectives that were perhaps always there, lurking beneath the surface.
We started this deep dive with a simple question. What's so fascinating about this Arby's YTP video?
Okay.
And we've ended up exploring everything from advertising techniques and gender roles to the
Okay.
nature of reality and the meaning of life.
It's amazing.
It's been quite a journey.
Indeed. It's been a testament to the power of curiosity.
Yeah.
The joy of exploration and the unexpected depths that can be found in even the most seemingly superficial forms of media.
Right.
This video, with all its absurdity and brilliance, has served as a springboard for a wide-ranging conversation about art, culture, humor, and the human condition.
We've laughed, we've cringed, we've questioned our sanity, and we've emerged with a newfound appreciation for the boundless creativity of the internet.
Absolutely.
And the power of remix culture to challenge our perspectives and make us think differently about the world.
And to our listener who submitted this video for our deep dive,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing this unique and thought-provoking piece of internet culture with us.
Yeah, thank you.
You've opened our eyes to a a world of creative possibilities, and inspired us to look beyond the surface, to find the humor, the meaning, and the beauty in the most unexpected places.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the wonderfully weird world of Arby's YTP,
Right.
we leave you with this final thought. Don't be afraid to embrace the absurd, to question the status quo, and to find your own unique path through the ever-evolving landscape of digital culture.
Absolutely.
Who knows what treasures you might discover along the way.
Until next time, keep your minds open, your sense of humor sharp,
Yeah.
and your sandwiches free of cum.
And with that, we bid you farewell.
Farewell.
Happy deep diving.